And welcome to the Elite Tennis Podcast. I almost said Next Gen Tennis Podcast, but that was the old one. So welcome to the Elite Tennis Podcast. I'm Mike Ball, and with us tonight we have Kyle LaCroix. Kyle, all the way from Boca Raton, Florida. Kyle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mike. Doing very well. Thanks for having me.
So the first time we tried this, we had about an hour or so of technical difficulties. So thank you for rejoining us tonight and taking time out of your Memorial Day evening to join the tennis world, to let me talk to you about tennis, your life, and everything else in between. And you may have had one of the most eventful years. Just what have you not done? You got married. You got a second master's degree.
Yeah.
You started another company. Where should I stop? Like, what else is there that you need to do? Like, where do you want to start with all that stuff? That's some major things there.
Yeah. So if we go by just the past 12 months, or if we just go by the start of 2020, either way, it was pretty eventful. It all started last year. Got engaged during the U.S. Open, and then just kind of carried that momentum all the way into 2020. Yes, got married. Yes, I graduated from Stanford with my second master's degree. Have a whole lot going on. Started Sets Consulting, which you mentioned. So it's just been a very busy time for me right now. I could not ask for anything more.
That's awesome. And you and I talk on a regular basis, and you've been doing some webinars yourself. Very involved with the USPTA. Very involved with Ferris State and USPTAU and the education program for tennis pros, and being a tester and all that stuff as well. And then also, you want to explain a little bit about what SETS is, SETS Consulting?
Sure. So SETS Consulting, SETS is stands for Specialized Educational Tennis Solutions. And we are simply a consulting firm. We specialize in coach education curriculum, as well as technical consulting and advisement to high-level, high-performance coaches. So we also do the typical club consulting and helping staff out, things like that. But mostly we specialize in high-level elite performance in player coaching.
So what is one of the major aspects of SETS that someone may be looking for? One of the things that you guys really dig into?
Sure. So one thing we really like to focus on with SETS Consulting is providing coaches, again, elite high-level coaches, an opportunity to get better. We're not going to make great coaches. We're going to make great coaches even better. And our tagline is setting you up to set you apart. And so essentially that's really what we try to do. I have right now a couple clients on the ATP and WTA tours that are coaching players. I don't work directly with the players. We have a professional relationship with them, but I work strictly with the coaches, making sure that they get better, making sure that they improve for the benefit of the players.
And what is some of the feedback have been so far since you've started this?
It's been overwhelming, actually. I've had so much interest. I know I started the company. I launched it on a Monday. That Saturday, I had a podcast. I think 459 people chimed in. So thanks to you putting out some stuff on Facebook. But people have been very interested. I got a lot of feedback afterwards, lots of email. And, I really kind of started the idea last year sometime. I had a dear friend of mine, Julian Alonso. He's a coach on the WTA tour right now, and we've been talking. We've known each other for quite a while, and we have the similar philosophies, but he likes the way that I go about things. And he said something that really struck with me, which is, man, I wish I had you in my corner when I played on the tour. And so, we started talking a little bit more about things, and I helped him out with one of his players, and she started doing really, really well. And so it just kind of snowballed from there, and I have his support and the support of the Spanish Tennis Federation, everything else. So it's been really, really enjoyable to work with Julian and so many other great coaches.
And I don't want to get too far away from sets, but I do want to talk a little bit about the second master's degree. And I want to talk about the dichotomy of failure. And well, I don't want to talk anything about it. I want you to talk about it. And I want you to explain a little bit about the backstory. And because I had the pleasure and the privilege to have you come and speak at the high school coaches conference here in Florida in December, and great presentation, fabulous feedback. You actually gave a webinar on that. It's on tennisresources.com. So if you're a USPTA pro, you're more than welcome to check out the webinar right now, or not right now. Let's wait until the interview's over now, and then go check it out. Then and then I'm sure you will be more than happy to present that in any other division convention or webinar upcoming too. It was a great presentation. But once you go ahead and set that up and give a little backstory on what happened with that and the failure behind that as well, because I think that was actually very ironic.
Yes. So the Loser's Edge it's a research project I did for Stanford University during my master's program, and initially I wanted it to be my master's thesis, and I presented it to my professors, and they loved it, but they said it wasn't going to be accepted because it wasn't along the educational pathway that they had intended for the master's thesis to actually be. So I did all this work, and they pretty much turned it down. Fortunately, I had something in my back pocket, which was a little bit more what they were looking for, which is also a wonderful presentation. However, I was really behind this Loser's Edge, and it really talks about failure and how you can't have success without the failure. So this research project took about 12 months to actually do and finalize. I interviewed 289 professional world-class athletes in, I think, 13 different sports. And the feedback I received from it has been amazing. I got to speak with a lot of athletes, and I simply asked them one question: what was your biggest failure in your professional athletic career? And you think 289 athletes, 13 different sports, different countries, different cultures, you would think that there would be such a wide variety of reasons why they failed. And essentially, it came down to 7 reasons. So failure really comes down to just 7 main reasons why. And I thought that was extremely eye-opening. I started looking more into that. I started investing a lot more time in it. It became my obsession for a good 12 months of my life. I had to call all these athletes, email them, Skype, Zoom, any means of communication you could imagine. I went through a couple of different cell phone plans as well. I was on my phone quite a bit. Some of these athletes, they do have an ego, so they had that shield up, and it was tough to kind of get through. But once I was able to build some rapport and create a relationship with them, they were able to open up, and they told me a lot of incredible stories and information. But yeah, 289 world-class athletes and just 7 reasons why we fail. So it's pretty interesting.
So not only were they world-class athletes, but can you just not give any names because we want to protect them, but can you just give a little taste of some of the resume behind some of the world-class athletes?
Sure. So I happen to have it on my phone here. So 13 different sports, and I interviewed Olympic athletes, professional world-class athletes. It was 145 men and 145 women. That's what it broke down. Or excuse me, 144 women. That's what it broke down to. 22 individual gold medals, 11 team medals, 38 Grand Slam titles. Tennis players were the largest majority of the athletes that I did interview, just because I'm a tennis guy. 7 world record holders in the Olympics, 6 NBA titles, 2 NBA Hall of Famers, 32-time NBA All-Stars, 4 Stanley Cup champions, 3 Super Bowl champions. So, yeah, I mean, these athletes that I interviewed definitely have been there, done that. They've been at the top of the game, and so they had a lot of incredible stories and some really invaluable experience that I was able to gain and draw from.
I'm sorry you did not get to interview Tom Brady.
Who says I did?
Well, he has won more Super Bowl rings than what you gave off. So just process of elimination.
There you go. I knew you were smart. I knew you were smart.
So it's a little joke. I'm a Colts fan. Obviously, I drink the Kool-Aid. And Kyle is actually, he got his first master's from the University of Michigan, and he's a Tom Brady fan. So we have a few jabs here and there back and forth about this. And now Tom Brady is my neighbor, so to speak, not officially, but we share a waterway as a backyard. And
that counts.
It counts. Associated property. There's water droplets in the air. So, you know. Anyway, so off-topic question. What do you think about Tom Brady ripping his pants yesterday while playing golf?
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Listen, world-class athletes, you know, they're going to do these things. They can stretch fabric to the absolute limits. And so, you know, this is just collateral damage. I mean, he is the GOAT, so GOATs are certainly allowed to rip their pants and do whatever else they want.
I'm sorry, I just had to get a little one there. Did you happen to watch yesterday's golf match between Tiger, Peyton, Mickelson, and Brady?
Unfortunately, I did not, but I did hear about it.
Okay, because that was just up the road from you guys. And I didn't know, with all the rain, I didn't know if they were going to get it off or not. But
yeah, I mean, it's been raining down here nonstop for the last 2 days straight. So I have no clue how they were able to even get one single round in of golf. But it could just be like the Boca bubble, as we call it. When it rains here, it rains nowhere else, and when it rains everywhere else, it never rains here. So.
Well, you got to love Florida for that reason. So at least we're playing sports and we're having fun, and everyone else hates us for it. So it is what it is. So let's talk a little bit about the last year or so personally for you.
You want to get personal, huh?
You were like the tennis mystery man. Like you're the international man of mystery. You get engaged, nobody knows about it. Like
Lisa put it on Facebook,
and then she puts it on Facebook, and then like I'm messaging you that she put it on Facebook, and you're like, how many likes did it get? And you're like, oh no, that's horrible. So I'm just joking. Sort of.
So if I could just explain, when she posted it on Facebook, I was in the air. I was on a flight from New York down to South Florida that was supposedly about to get hit by a catastrophic hurricane, which of course it never did. But that's besides the point. I was on a plane. I didn't know she was going to post it on Facebook. So I was a little bit surprised. Number one, I'm a fairly private guy, but when it came to this, I was hoping for maybe at least 24 hours where I could just kind of embrace the thought of being engaged, and that could be our little secret for at least 24 hours. And then I didn't realize she posted it on Facebook, nor did I realize she's friends with 8,000 people. So my phone literally blew up when I landed, and I turned it on, and I was getting messages from you and everybody else, which was very nice, but I just don't like surprises at all, good or bad. That's just how I am. I don't really like surprises. So when you start texting me, I was like, wow, okay, it's on. It's out there.
Hey, it's not official unless it's Facebook official.
Clearly.
And you're not on Facebook. So, I mean, actually, Josh Sturgis commented on this post. Wow, Kyle is on Facebook. That was the thing. Josh Sturgis, let's just show that there. Josh Sturgis, wow, Kyle is on Facebook.
I'm not on Facebook.
So it's a semi-annual appearance for you.
Yes, although I do have to say, since you brought up Josh Sturgis, I do have to give him some credit because he was the one that hosted the USPTA district meeting at IBIS that I first met Lisa at. So Josh Sturgis can say anything he wants to about me. I don't care. I do owe Josh Sturgis a big thank you for making that happen because Lisa was a presenter at that district meeting. And there's a whole story behind that too, which I will get into on one of my webinars. But I do have to thank Josh Sturgis for that.
Then a little bit later, a few months later, more than a few months later, you guys go ahead and pull the trigger, and you get married. And during this whole COVID thing, so you get engaged during the hurricane crisis, and you get married during a pandemic. So what's next? Like, what? I mean,
well, what we're thinking about is going on honeymoon to West Africa and catch Ebola, because we just think that's kind of the way things are going. You know, natural disaster, global pandemic, might as well get some horrible disease in West Africa. So I'm kind of searching for that. No, honestly, in all seriousness, the wedding we actually had planned in April, and it was going to be the same thing. It was going to be down at City Hall, just real quick, simple, not a big fuss. And then when this whole coronavirus thing happened, there was talk of places closing down, and we didn't know about Delray Beach City Hall. So we just woke up a Friday morning. We had the marriage license already, so we woke up Friday morning, and we just went down and said I do's. It was real nice, sweet, quick, simple, no fuss, which is what Lisa and I both like. And the rest is history. Happily ever after.
Well, you guys are great together. You two have both been great friends to me and to Sarah. We will leave any stories with Sarah out of it for right now.
Please.
There are some fun ones. We're going to leave those out. That's enough said for that one. Enough said. Anyway, let's get back to Sets Consulting here.
Sure.
You have been hosting webinars and interviews with some very great people in the tennis industry. You want to go over some of the interviews that you've been doing so far?
Yeah. So, well, I have a couple coming up that I haven't really announced yet, and they're going to be pretty big as well. But I know I did one last week, or I think maybe 2 weeks ago. I should probably remember this, but a lot's happened since then. I did an interview with Lisa LaCroix, my wife, and that actually got quite a bit of attention. She sent it to her whole family, of course, on Facebook, I'm sure. But that was really good. Talked about her organization. Also had a great interview with Cyril Saunier, top 50 ATP touring pros, now a coach in Boca Raton. I've known him for a handful of years. Just kind of get his take on player development, some of his coaching philosophies. So it's been good. Like I said, the feedback from for Sets Consulting has been nothing short of amazing, and I'm humbled by it. The phone is ringing off the hook, and the email inbox is filling up quickly. But it's just been a good time, and I had this idea again last year, and I kind of made it official this year. But it's just been good, and like you mentioned earlier, the last year, and really beyond the last year, I'd say starting in 2019 was really a catalyst for so many other amazing things to have happened. I purchased another house last year, and all this was done kind of towards the beginning of the year, leading into the summer, towards the end of the year. Now we're going to 2020, but I think a big catalyst for that really was the death of my father. Early 2019, January 24th, 2019, it was on a Thursday, he passed away. And we didn't have the best relationship, but we started to kind of mend the fence a little bit. And, there was a lot of stuff that was kind of built up. And I think his death, in a way, allowed me to be able to open up a little bit more. It kind of sobered me up in a metaphysical sense, if you will. And it just kind of told me, life is short, and you got to start going for it. Yeah. So I think I was cruising a little bit, not in a bad way. I was still active and doing really good stuff in the industry, but it just completely changed my life in the way that I view things and I look at things. And so, like 6 weeks after his death, buy a house. A few months after, get engaged to Lisa. A whole bunch of other things happened last year that were really, really amazing. And 2019 was, besides my father's passing, was honestly the best year of my life, professionally, personally. There was that one blemish, but I really believe that one blemish was there for a reason. It was able to kind of wake me up, and it was there to, in a way, my father's passing allowed me to live my life a little bit more. So I just feel like that whole 2019, I just took that momentum and I kind of brought it into 2020.
So a couple things. If you are interested in Sets Consulting, the website is actually setsconsult.org. It's here on the banner on the bottom of the screen.
Nice, Mike.
Hey, I'm trying to hook you guys up here.
Thank you.
And also, we have a couple comments from the viewers. Mark Atkinson from Jacksonville, from the Mal Washington Foundation, says volcano in Hawaii while on honeymoon, or whole on honeymoon. So Mark wants you to experience a volcano while you're on your honeymoon.
That's actually a great idea. Big fan of Mark Atkinson. I've never been to Hawaii, and yeah, I mean, hey, why not? I could see a live volcano. Why not? I mean, it totally makes sense. I see there's a comment there from Lisa. She says West Africa, and she says she can't wait. So see, that's what you want, a good attitude. And she's all for it. Actually, in all seriousness, we did talk about it a little bit, and my dream is to actually go to North Africa, to go to Morocco, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt, and then even into Iran. But obviously, with the political climate, that's probably not going to happen. But I've always wanted to actually go there. I had a friend that went there a couple of years ago. She has a Italian passport though, so it's a little bit easier for her. But that would be like the dream trip for me, would be North Africa.
So you do a little traveling, but you mostly go to Europe.
I do. I like Europe. I've been there many times. I've been to just about every country in Europe, but I've been going there the last couple of years. I have a client out there. He lives in Switzerland, and he flies me out and hang out for a week, teach him tennis, get his game better. He's a great student, and just hang out with him. So it's pretty nice.
So what is your favorite place to go in Europe?
I am somewhat partial to Switzerland. I've probably been there the most. I've been all over. It's a beautiful country, very expensive, but it's a beautiful country. People are great. Scenery is magnificent, but I do have a soft spot for Switzerland.
Okay. Do you have any tips when going to visit Switzerland? Like any must-sees, must-dos, any most don'ts? Like anything like don't do this, like stay away from this, or
Switzerland's interesting because it's a country in the center of Europe, and they speak multiple languages. So they'll speak German or Swiss German in the north, where Zurich is, and they'll speak French in Geneva. And then they speak Italian in southern Switzerland. There's a state there, or a canton called Ticino, and that's where Lugano is. And Lugano's always where I happen to visit. That's where my client lives. And so they speak Italian there. So you really get kind of the best of Europe in Switzerland. So you can't really go wrong anywhere. If you go to the center of the country, you're going to see the most magnificent mountains you've ever seen. The Swiss Alps are there. It's very postcard and picturesque. But any tips as to what not to do? If you're in northern Switzerland, like where Zurich is, close to the German border, don't be late. Don't talk back to any authority figures. They're nice.
Is that personal experience?
Not so much personal experience. I just happen to know when you get off the flight from Miami. Miami has Swiss has 2 flights every day direct from Miami to Geneva and from Miami to Zurich. 2 flights a day. So when you leave Miami and you land in Zurich the next morning, there's a completely different vibe. Things are a lot more stiff and orderly. And you just want to kind of mind your P's and Q's. There's no hello. Usually when you come to America, they're fairly polite and they say, "Welcome to America. Hello, how are you?" In Switzerland, especially Zurich, it's not so much. It's just, "What are you doing here? How long are you going to be here?" And then you try to small talk, and they don't really like small talk. So they just kind of point to where you're supposed to go, and you go, and I don't question them at all. So, but that's northern Switzerland, Zurich, which is beautiful. But Swiss people they're known for their precision and their timeliness. So you don't really want to do anything that might offend them.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good tips. Good tips. Don't small talk the Swiss.
Yeah. Well, if they're Swiss German, and that's another thing too,
Swiss
is that
German. Okay.
Yeah, which is a completely different thing than just German, because the Swiss can speak German, but they also speak Swiss German, and Swiss German is completely different. So all the Swiss can understand German, but not all Germans can understand Swiss German. So it's a completely different language. But like I said, that's mostly in the north. You go south, you're going to be hearing or speaking Italian. If you go west, you're going to be hearing more French. So, but beautiful country, just a good mix of cultures and languages.
So you want to go North Africa, do the trip there,
and then into the Middle East, Iran.
And then Middle East. Obviously, political climate, health climate, if that is what we were calling this, whatever this is right now. So that may all be delayed for the time being. But as far as tennis travels, where do you see yourself traveling for any tennis things, potentially for tournaments or for playing or for anything else?
Well, it's a little bit uncertain right now, just because of the current global climate with the coronavirus and everything else, but also, the tours, or at least the WTA tour, just announced that they are players will only have one person on their team join them. So that's obviously going to cut down on multiple coaches and physios, trainers, entourages, things like that. So no plans to travel. I'm happy where I am. And honestly, this teleconferencing stuff with Zoom and all the other platforms, I've been using it for years now.
Yeah.
So I'm totally used to it, and I use it for a lot of my clients anyways. So for me, there's really no change. So if I do get to travel in the future, which I hope is soon, that's great. But I'm not planning on anything just yet. So, and I'm totally fine with that.
That's good. So, like what you said, the innovation, and where do you see the innovation of coaching going?
Well, I think coaches, tennis coaches especially, I think we are the most innovative and adaptable. And I think you've seen that over the last couple months. There's been so many tennis coaches that have stepped up, that have opened up new doors. I know Lisa just did an explosive class last week, which was incredible, and it was all online, and everyone logged into the Zoom platform. And they had an exclusive event online, and she's been doing all of her teletherapy online, and she has her weekend classes, her weekend tennis classes online. But, Lisa's one example, but there's so many other pros that have really stepped up. And so I feel like this is just the beginning of something even bigger. I think an online platform for every coach is going to be almost a necessity. If you look at tennis and the way how quickly tennis evolves, the game of tennis changes every 6 months. And so when you see coaches that haven't been to a conference or don't have that many education credits, you kind of wonder how far behind are they really?
Yeah.
Because tennis is just constantly evolving. And if you look at all the sports across the board, tennis has changed the most out of all of them. I mean, you look at the equipment, the technology. Now, with that being said, tennis is still very old school, and I think there is an old school element to that. And I, of all people, am a traditionalist. I mean, if it was up to me, I would still make everyone play with wood rackets and serve and volley. But I know realistically, that's not going to happen, and I'm fine with that. But looking into the future, I think coaching on some sort of online or virtual platform is going to be key. I think selling your lessons and your knowledge online is also going to be critical. There's only so many hours in the day. 24. How many hours can you really teach physically on court? You can't. But what if you sell your knowledge to somebody in Japan, someone in Germany, someone in Australia? That's where we are going with this. And if there's one thing we can take from this coronavirus, is that it's not a setback, it's a setup for those that are willing to do it. And I'm so proud of the tennis industry for stepping up. And I've seen so many coaches now online that are starting to embrace this because now they're understanding. And sometimes we have to evolve out of necessity, but ultimately it's the ones that are most willing to adapt that are going to survive this. So we just have to be adaptable like we always have been.
So I just want to bring this up real quick. It was 33 minutes and 40 seconds before you talked about the serve and volley.
Okay.
This
I didn't know I was being timed, but thank you. Yes.
No. This is something that we joke about all the time because you're big on the serve and volley. I'm big on the serve and volley. Your license plate is actually serve and volley.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to track you down, it's serve and volley. My license plate is not serve and volley, but close enough anyway. I thought that was kind of funny, but
thanks for that. Thanks. I'm actually pretty impressed with myself. I figured it would for sure be in the first 10 minutes, so that's good.
Oh, I thought it would be too. I thought we would nail it right away. And I'm like, no, we're not talking about serve and volley yet. Oh. I'm like, let's see how long it's going to take us to talk about serve and volley, and it's like 33 minutes, 40 seconds.
It's good.
Where do you see the women's game? They started coming in more. The men's game started coming in more. You said the game changes every 6 months. You're starting to see it a little bit more and more and more. Federer has gone on record saying that he wishes that the players would come in more. Where do you see serve and volley fitting in?
So I don't think it's necessarily going to be the standard for every player across the board in 2 years, 5 years, or even 10 years. But I think it's going to be used more as a consistent tactic against certain players. I forget what year it is that Djokovic had his amazing run. I think he lost like 4 matches that year. But of those 4 matches, I think it was 5 matches he lost. But of those 5 matches, 3 of them he lost to serve and volleyers, Karlovic and Roger Federer, who used that tactic a lot against Djokovic. And the other 2 matches he lost was to Stan Wawrinka and Andy Murray. And both those players are baseliners. But what happened is, and you can look at the statistics on this, both of those guys started attacking the net way above average than they normally do in their matches. So players are starting to realize that these guys are so good defensively, like Nadal and Djokovic. You're not going to beat them from the baseline. You're just not. If they're faster than you and they're more consistent than you, then playing on the baseline is just going to be an inevitable loss for you. So players are now starting to realize the benefits of coming to the net. Can they do it every time? I discussed this with Brad Gilbert a lot. And serve and volley is a very physical game. But if you use it sparingly as a tactic, if you do it every time, it becomes predictable. But if you use it as a tactic, I think it could really, really work. So, I mean, that's kind of where I stand. But in the future, I'm thinking it's going to be more of a serve and swinging volley. We are now in the age of the great returners, right? Nadal and Djokovic, and they seem to get every single return back, which is good. And what that was is it was a reaction to the serving dominance that we had in the early 2000s, where you had Sampras and Ivanisevic, and then that carried on with Roger Federer. And so tennis is going to kind of go back and forth, and it's going to find its balance. Right now, we're very kind of return heavy. So I think because of the better returns, guys are now going to start to serve a little bit better, and they're going to have to start to attack more. And then that's going to happen for the next few years until we have another return resurgence, and then it's going to be better returners coming up and playing, and they're going to be dominating the game. So it's just that constant ebb and flow of tennis.
Now, it's funny that you mentioned the serve and swing volley, because one of my favorite players growing up would do this every once in a while. Big kicks. I'm gonna tell you the play, and I want you to tell me the player. Okay. Big kick serve wide, swing volley to the open court, or swinging forehand volley to the open court.
Agassi.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's nothing new.
You see him play on the ad side all the time, and he goes all the way out wide, closer to the doubles alley.
Yeah.
Just hits a nice kick serve
about
out wide.
miles an hour.
The guy stretches for it, and then he just comes up, runs, and hits that swing volley to the open court. That's how he starts the point. Murat Safin actually does that a lot too. His favorite serve is that wide serve, and then he doesn't necessarily take a swing volley, but he uses that wide serve to open up the court, so he already has an advantage to start the point. So
absolutely. No, I mean, it's nothing new, but I think it's it's kind of like clothing styles. You know, it kind of comes back around again every once in a while. You know, they kind of circle through. Now combining it now with some of the technology and some of the grips and some of the string and the spins and everything, I think that can be really effective, you know, and combining with some of the racket head speeds and some of the rotational power that they have now, I think that can be really effective.
Well, if you think about the way the game is going, I mean, the courts are no doubt getting slower, which certainly affects serve and volley. But the courts are getting slower, the bounces are getting higher, therefore the grips are becoming a little bit more extreme. Contact points are higher. So not all players are going to feel comfortable with a true continental grip if they come up to volley or whatever else. So what's going to happen is their predominant grip will be like a strong semi-Western forehand, and you can hit a swinging volley out of that. So I just think it naturally feeds into that next evolution. Players are getting bigger, grips are becoming a bit more extreme, courts are becoming slower. Players are going to realize that they're not going to be able to stay back on the baseline and rally all day with somebody who is quicker, faster, hits more topspin than they do. That's why Nadal and Djokovic are having so much success, is because they are simply the best of all the players that play the same, and they happen to be the best. If you add in a little bit more variety, then it's going to change. But until you do that, you're going to have dominance, and that's how it is. On the women's game, it's going to be a little bit different. Nobody's truly dominant on the women's game, except for, you could say, Serena Williams with all of her titles. But essentially, the women's game, I actually like watching women's tennis a lot more, because you do see a lot more variety and you do see a lot more creativity, because they don't have a 130-mile-per-hour serve and a huge forehand to end the point with at any time they want to. They have to be able to create and construct the points. Therefore, you see a lot more improvisation, a lot more creativity. A great player to watch, actually, is this young Swiss girl. Well, she's mid-20s now, but her name is Victoria Golubic, and she has a one-handed backhand. I think she's like 5'8", 5'7", 5'8", but she has a beautiful one-handed backhand, gorgeous slice, uses the whole court, extremely, extremely creative and smart player. And why is that? Because she has to be. To play at that level, if you don't have the big game, you have to be super smart and super creative. And so I do enjoy watching the women's game because of that. There isn't so much monotony involved. It's a lot more of a mix.
So last couple questions for you, and then I'm going to let you go so you can enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day weekend. Who do you think this may be the longest time off that professional tennis players have ever had? Who do you think this benefits the most?
I think it's still Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal, and until somebody shows up, steps up, and does something about it, it always will be. I mean, you see Federer over the break; he's hitting against the wall, and to be honest with you, I think a lot of it is posturing. I think Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer, I think they've been practicing. I think absolutely. I think a lot of players have been practicing, and so it's just a matter of who can actually take that practice and be able to best put it and execute it during a match. Because the one thing that no players have right now is a lot of match play. So knowing that, let's say they're all practicing the same, which maybe some have, maybe some haven't, but if they've all been practicing the same, but there's still no match play, how do you gain your confidence? Well, you gain your confidence from being who you are, from having that belief. And who has the most confidence and belief? Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal. So I don't think anything has really changed. Maybe it will, and I hope so. I really do. But I don't think so at all. I think Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer are still going to be at the top.
Absolutely. What about on the women's side? Because we don't want to go without talking about a little bit about the women. I know you just talked about the Swiss player, but do you think this helps Serena potentially get in shape, a little bit more tennis shape as far as the footwork and the endurance to try to get that Grand Slam that's been eluding her, if there are going to be a Grand Slam, a U.S. Open?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of the same for the women's game. I think the top women are still going to have an advantage simply because maybe they've been practicing, maybe they haven't been. But either way, it comes down to belief, because you don't have any sort of confidence going into your first tournament when they all do come back, because you haven't played a match in a couple months. So what's going to be the determining factor? I'm sure all the players have worked very hard on fitness. So that's kind of a push. Again, it's going to come down to who are the best players, and do they still believe that they are the best players? If so, then, we should kind of see the status quo.
That's good. Last thing for you here. On your webinar and on your interviews, you run through a list of words, and you have your guest give a first word that comes to mind, and I want to do that with you. Just
Okay.
kind of give it what it feels.
I'm
So
nervous.
these are all kind of tennis words.
Okay.
The first ones are going to be, and then we're going to kind of go from there. But are you ready?
Bring it.
Okay. Let.
Fault.
Love.
Deuce.
Seed.
Say that again.
Seed.
Upset.
Ace.
Double fault.
Volley.
Serve.
Lob.
Overhead smash.
Deuce.
Love.
Grand slam.
Rod Laver.
Porsche.
The greatest.
Oaks.
Amazing place.
Michigan.
Cold, but University of Michigan's great.
All right. Well, that's all I've got for you, Kyle. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for redoing this time with me tonight. And once again, if you guys want to check out Kyle LaCroix and Sets Consulting, it is setsconsult.org. He's got webinars coming up. Of course, if he's got anything coming up, I will be posting anything for him. I'm going to promote whatever you have. So you tell me what you got going on. I'm going to put it out there for you. You know how this works. We've been friends now for, 7 years now. So whatever it is.
I was a groomsman at your wedding. So
you were, I wasn't going to say that, but
yeah,
you were a groomsman at my wedding.
Yes. And by the way, before we end, I want to congratulate you on joining the Volkswagen family.
Oh, thank you.
The purchase of your new car, I can't tell you how happy I am. It's a great looking car. You're going to love it. So much more storage space. And I see the smile it brings to your face. Welcome to my life every day.
I have so much more rooms for my balls. That's
low hanging fruit.
No. I told you what the conversation was, right? Like, honestly, no, the honest to God, true story was, it was the conversation. It was between one model and the other model. I was looking at two SUVs, and I look at my wife and I say, I can't get this model because it does not hold 12 cases of balls in the trunk.
That's a valid reason, though.
It's a valid reason.
Yeah.
So the reason, that was a valid reason. I have to have room for my balls in this SUV, and I'm a tennis pro. I have to talk about my balls, and that's you can be from Nassau County and you can laugh at it, or you can be a professional and you can keep on talking. And that's what we do, is we keep on talking, and we're not going to laugh about ball jokes. So that's all it's going to be. That's
exactly. And you picked the perfect time to buy a car too.
I'm an opportunist.
Absolutely. This is the perfect time. I actually found out, I was at the Porsche dealership up in West Palm Beach, and I found out that Audi of West Palm Beach was the had the best sales of any car dealership in the country in March. They sold 33 cars in March, which seems like a lot. That's more than one car a day, but in this economic environment, that's pretty impressive. So but no, this is the best time. If you're an opportunist, it is the best time to buy a car. And if you wait a little while longer, the 2021 models are coming out, which is going to make the dealerships even more desperate to get rid of the 2019s and the 2020s. And with the whole economic uncertainty going on, they will get you an amazing deal.
So, well, I was forced to this one. A little backstory. I know we said we're signing off, but my Kia that I've had, if anyone has seen me around, I had a 2009 Kia that I bought with brand new. I was actually on Memorial Day in 2009, So Memorial Day 2009, so exactly a year ago, I was driving my Ford Explorer, and somebody drove through a red light and totaled my Ford Explorer. So about a week later, I bought this Kia Spectra. Didn't want it, but that's what pretty much the dealer said the bank said I could buy. The bank that I got it from was not very kind to me on the interest rate, but being someone that was just out of college and needed a car, having 2 full-time jobs of being a biochemist and a tennis pro, I needed a car to get me from A to B. Having a son who was 3 years old at the time, had to have a car for him and had to have a car to get me to where I needed to go. So I was, and I was still playing tennis and trying to play tennis at a high level then. So I was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and not a very good time, but that's what it was. So 242,000 miles later in that Kia Spectra, it said goodbye last week, and
there's no shame in that, though. I mean, that thing paid for itself. It hung till the very last day, and it's fantastic. You totally deserve this. So I'm happy for you, and I'm also proud of you because you took my advice.
I took your advice, and you were a sounding board on how should I talk to my wife about taking the better choice. But that's neither here nor there. So anyway,
I'm trying to convince Lisa we need a second Porsche in the garage, but I don't think she's going to go for that. I mean, she could. I just have to sell the house right now to do that.
Well, I sent you the photo of Sarah's face and the mood that she was in at the dealership. So I'm no help to you because I thought I would be single right now.
Yeah. Well, I told Lisa, a racing yellow Porsche.
That would be complimentary.
Well, not only that, but a Porsche GT3. They don't really lose their value that much. Porsche does a really good job of holding its value, and so I'm trying to convince her of a racing yellow GT3, and I don't think she's having it. But I told her, listen, we sell the house, I can get one, we'll have some money left over. And she says, yes, but I won't have a house to live in. And I said, yes, but guess what? You can't drive this house. You can drive the GT3. So why not? I mean, I can take out the back seats. There's enough room for like one person to lay down. I mean, we can just live out of that. It's fine.
Is Lisa watching right now by any chance?
She probably is. Or maybe she logged off. I'm not sure, but.
Well, I hope she can see the bottom of the screen right now. Lisa, let Kyle get the GT3. You can't drive the house.
Yeah, she's out here in the dining room. So
you can't drive the house, Lisa. You can't drive the house.
Yeah, exactly. See, I mean, that's what people say. That's the biggest thing with people that don't understand cars. They're like, oh, for that much money, you could buy a house. Well, yeah, but you can't drive your house. You can't have that much fun. You just can't. So why not?
You can't drive the house.
Yeah, exactly. So at least have some fun, man. Life is short. So
that's we're gonna end on that. We're gonna end on that quote. You can't drive the house. We're gonna end on that. You can't drive.
Love it. Hashtag it. Do whatever you need to do.
We're going to end on that right there. That's great. That's a great one to end on. Kyle, thanks again. Once again, you can find Kyle at the Oaks. You can find him in Boca. You can find him in Alistair McCall's new book. You can find him
page 60. Page 60.
You can probably find him at the store. Look up. He's 6'7", even bigger heart. At least that's what his Twitter bio says. Anyway, Kyle, thanks again. Tennis Tycoon, Sets Consulting on Twitter. You won't find him on Facebook because he's smarter than all the rest of us. And Kyle, thanks again. Appreciate it. Everyone else, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I hope you all have a great rest of your Memorial Day evening, and hopefully we see you all soon. Take care, guys.